Hello everyone and welcome to your Christmassy themed Thursday. My name is Jules Gill and I'm joined by Scott.
Hi.
The man in the box, Tailford.
That Alice in Chains reference?
It was actually.
Good.
Yeah. The reason that we are here today for you lovely people is because there's been a lot of talk about Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. Now, some of it has been very good in that it's an ineffable experience as you take this man across a journey across America to unite all of the strands of people. Then you've got the other side who say, I don't understand what it's about, rain is time, I don't get it what it is. It's a very
There's me in the middle who was the first one and then finished it and became the second one.
It's an incredibly divisive game, which is great. So,
it.
some people think that it's incredibly well made and like a fantastic experience. Other people just say it's pretentious crap. But whatever your opinion on it, what we're here to talk about today is Death Stranding and whether or not it might secretly be a bit of a bomb.
It's weird. This is really weird. This came from one of our bosses sending us some sales data, which is a valid thing to sort of focus on when you look at the charts as they were when the game first came out and look at the sheer amount that it's fallen since then. So the first thing to sort of cover is the fact that if you look on social media, the general sort of reputation of the game is obviously very positive. I will totally say that I love it. It's one of my favorite games of the year. It's not my game of the year, but it's up there. But I think a lot of people do have that general perception that it is a confident, solid product. And like I said, the general optics around it, Hideo Kojima's tweeting a lot, Sony are tweeting a lot. The only statement that Sony put out was that it was the second biggest PS4 launch of the year, which sounds big, but it's only up against Days Gone, because the only other exclusives are Judgment and Concrete Genie, which sold nothing. Yeah, because I love those games too, but still.
So what we have here is a game that is fantastically well made. There is no doubt on the quality of the production, but I feel like when you look at this, you have to look at it in the same realm as films and cinema. If a title slips from the box office down the rankings straight away, that's usually an indicator that there's something that's not sitting well.
You get that day one rush, everyone's all excited for it, the day one sales are very big, they get to say, hey, we've had this massive opening weekend, but the sales data going week by week, it didn't even go to number one in the charts. It was beaten by Call of Duty, which is very hard to beat COD though, obviously.
I was about to say that's no surprise really.
No, and that was the thing back at launch. It was it didn't beat Call of Duty, but it was never going to, and okay. But from then, it then went to 8th place straight after that, and then it only fell more. It
was that a week later?
Yes, so it debuted second, then it went to 8th, then it went to 13th, 31st, and now it's down at 35th. But the interesting thing is that, like I said, those the charts at launch, like Call of Duty was at number 1, Death Stranding was at number 2, and things like Luigi's Mansion was at number 4. You had other things like FIFA 20 was at number 3. Basically, if you compare the launch charts to now, some games carry across, and they've stayed at the top. Like the charts as of right now, FIFA, Call of Duty, Minecraft, even Luigi's Mansion, all of those things have continued to sell and kept in the top 10, whereas Death Stranding has fallen the hell off. So it had a very strong opening weekend, but only versus Days Gone. And then it seems to have only gotten worse. And Sony aren't releasing the actual specific sales data, which they wouldn't at this point because they can just fall back on, it's second next to Days Gone. And it's actually, maybe it sucks.
So what we're going to do now is try and speculate as to why that might be. And the first point is quite a salient one, which is if you are ever designing a brand new product, the first thing you've got to do is come up with your elevator pitch, your 2-sentence window to describe what your product is and why it is marketable. With Death Stranding, there is a real difficulty defining what this game is, apart from using words like it's an experience, it's a unique journey. Those sort of things sound amazing on paper because they are offering people, stuff they've never experienced before. But you have to remember that marketability comes from something that has already been experienced in a new way. FIFA, Call of Duty, those staples, Luigi's Mansion, they are built, it's a sequel, a numerous sequel, and a massive franchise. There is ways of marketing it.
But even like Luigi's Mansion is a hell of a thing to keep selling consistently for 5 weeks at this point. And also, like I said, Death Stranding's dropped down to number 35 on the overall charts. That puts it behind Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which has had a disastrous launch, and also Ubisoft pledged to overhaul it.
Critically, it was panned as well.
So it's that's selling better than Death Stranding, which is a massive, that's the thing, you're trying to ascertain how many sales Death Stranding actually had, but it's behind all these other games that undersold in the first place.
But then you look at what Ghost Recon Breakpoint was offering. It's a military shooter with an identifiable star as its face, and it was an easy thing to market because people know what it is and what they're expecting. And the thing is, you got to look at how Kojima handled the social media campaign for Death Stranding. He was incredibly clever by getting so many cameos from celebrities,
different
and
bands and artists. And
now,
stuff too.
by doing that, a lot of people were like, well, it's weird. Like, why are you getting all of these people in? He's tapped into it, realizing that his game isn't easily sellable, but these people's faces are. By saying that Conan O'Brien's got a cameo in there, by saying that Bring Me the Horizon are doing the song track for it, they can use their social media to basically push the game out there. But the problem is that isn't translating to sales for some reason.
Not over time. That's the thing. It results in an amazing sense of curiosity, and everybody buys in on day one. But then, like, you know, for a game to fall this much in the first opening month compared to things that are selling more consistently, like even Ghost Recon, like, you know, like we just said, was completely panned, broken at launch, but it's sold consistently enough over these last few weeks to maintain a position higher than Death Stranding, whereas Stranding has fallen even lower. WWE 2K20 is at number 26, which is like even...
Is it actually?
That's out. Like, how has that outsold Death Stranding over the same amount of time? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of nuts. Like,
it's a classic case of the devil you know, though.
A little bit.
I swear, like, people will. This stat is effectively proving that people will buy a broken game that people are telling you not to buy over something that is different.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the election. Carry on.
But we've had so many titles that have been in this situation. One need only look at Tim Schafer's Psychonauts as a good example, or Beyond Good and Evil. Something where it's easy to define what they are after playing it, but in trying to market them and trying to get them into the hands of people, it's so difficult.
Well, this is one of the core things, because with Death Stranding, like, obviously one of the biggest things with it was the mystique around it. What was it really going to be? And we didn't know what it was. And even at launch, there was a whole bunch of outlets doing stuff going like, well, we still don't really know what it is. Kind of became like a meme. But my thing with playing through it was that I never thought that they really got across that the biggest sellable aspect of that game, the big unique innovation, is the community-driven building stuff.
Yes.
Where you're communally getting through an open world game. You're sharing items and you're sharing objects and vehicles and stuff between each other, and you're all moving towards one endpoint together. That never came across in the marketing beforehand.
No, because every single piece of it all sounded like fluff pieces.
Yes.
Because it was like they couldn't pin down why you should buy it. Everyone was just saying like, oh, it's unlike anything I've played before.
Hideo Kojima.
Like, it's the most like crazy game I've ever played. It's like, okay, fine, but if you're not giving identifiable reasons as to why I should purchase this game, then I'm just going to watch somebody else play it and decide that way. Like, you got to look at other things as well. Like, there are certain publishers who we will not name names who do not give review copies very early. In fact, they do sometimes after the day of release because they want to protect their own sales thing from it.
Yes.
But in a really, like, take ourselves out of the equation, doing that from their perspective actually makes sense because they want to limit the amount of bad press that comes out. It's a horrible tactic, but it's a way of doing it. Hideo Kojima was inviting people over for months and months and months over, getting all of these people to come and play it, and they all walked away saying, I don't know what I just played. I don't know what I just played.
The thing is,
him going on record to say he doesn't even know.
I know.
It's a creative director who's not been spearheading the message.
My thing, as a humongous Hideo Kojima fan and someone who absolutely adores the Metal Gear games, and I do adore what Death Stranding is, I loved watching that game just unravel, and it's one of the most surprising games I've ever played where you just don't know what the hell's going to come next. For me, it all falls apart at the very end when you get all the biggest revelations and just the script is a mess. But that game, like, you know, as a reflection of Hideo Kojima's like wants and whims as a creative, it was one of those things where he does need an editor, he does need someone to focus in, and he does need to let more people into his creative process to say like, okay, this is the hook, this is what's going to get people in. And as much as that shouldn't mean that he changes his vision and changes what he does, I still want him. I love the fact that he's an unrestrained creator.
Oh yeah,
but
he's one of the last sort of pure auteur directors like that are out there.
But it's like there was absolutely a way to sell this, like way better than way more and way better than they did. And like I said, it would focus on the communal stuff, on focusing on the open world action and the stealth elements, and like this, you know, the full on boss battles in here against giant creatures and things like that. Stuff that they could have just shown off and said like, no, you're going to be doing this stuff, as opposed to FedEx Simulator, which is what a lot of people think.
And that's the problem. It seemed that the every single trailer that I saw that showed gameplay footage was pushing an aspect that was basically, hey, do you like this? This game mechanic is annoying. This is going to be the central part of it. Like, when I first heard about Death Stranding from like buzz around the office, and I asked people what if they could define what it is beyond the usual sort of like shrugs and whatever, I got told that there was no fast travel, that it was like a package delivery thing, that there was like non-lethal combat was the focus of it, and I'm just like, you've just listed 3 things that most people hate. Most people would not want to do it, because you've got to look around the office, even where we are. We play games for a living. Yes. But people out there
outside of work,
investing their money into this, they have to know effectively the product that they're buying. And I feel like if you're selling them on stuff that isn't popular. Like, if you tell somebody encumbrance, no fast travel, you tell people that, they're just going to be like, it's 2019, why haven't we?
I know, and the thing is, like, that's the kind of the beauty of the game, is that it takes all those elements that should be horrible, and should be off-putting, and should be like meandering and annoying, but it makes them like engaging, and they're worthwhile.
I know that from playing it with you.
I know, but where was that in the bargain?
Yeah, that's the thing. None of the outlets were pushing this. None of the like the promotional stuff was saying like, listen, we're reinventing what you hate into something that you can love, because nearly everyone that I know that's played it has said it is a fantastic game for what it's trying to do. But trying to get that definition down is so hard still.
And I think that's obviously what they've kind of struggled with. But also, like, there is also that thing where, you know, everyone has a friend who's probably, most likely you have a friend who's played Death Stranding if you haven't played it yourself. And that is always, that word of mouth is always going to be like, you know, the proof in the pudding, the tail of the tape, the longer sort of reputation of the game. And Death Stranding had that amazing capitalization on, or capitalizing on that initial launch window, and then only trailed off afterwards, where people went, yeah, it's all right. Oh yeah, I got stuck. I mean, on the trophy data, it was like 40% of people have the final trophy, which is quite high considering the way that game drags itself out for 60 hours. But that's still quite a low completion statistic for a massive AAA exclusive compared to something like God of War or like, you know, Persona 5 or whatever.
It's a real shame though, because it kind of underlies in a very almost ironic way that Hideo Kojima was trying to take all of these people from every walk of life and bring them together using these strands, tying America and the world together, and yet his game seems to have divided so many public opinion on it. And it's a real shame, because what is there is a fantastic message about coming together and overcoming odds as a community. But the delivery of that message is so convoluted that it's really hard to get people invested in the first place.
And I think that, because like having gone through Death Stranding and having had those moments where you come over the crest of a hill that you've traveled a few hundred times before, and you come over the top, you load your new save the next day, and you realize that overnight everyone has built new roads, new pathways, new zip lines, and someone's left a bike.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and you have that realization of like, oh, everyone is working together. I wonder how much he needed that to be the hook of the game, that, like, you know, he wanted everyone to have that fresh realization, as opposed to going in knowing that's what they're going to get. Because that's a great feeling when you play Death Stranding, like knowing that you're building this world alongside people, and it's like if you advertise that more directly, maybe you lose the surprise of it. But either way, it hasn't really worked.
When you look at sort of like film writing, when it comes to sort of like creating mysteries, mysteries are only enticing if it's fair and if the audience is given enough information to figure out themselves. The lead-up trailers, every single piece of video footage that came out of this game was just basically isolated points of interest that didn't tie stuff together. It was so like, you would have people just going, I really like the look of the game, but the otter tossing himself off down the river, that's kind of put me off. Or vice versa. I love the weird kookiness, but then they play the game and it's not all kooky and weird.
They buy into it for Mads Mikkelsen, who doesn't really show up for about 30 hours, and then only shows up every 10 other hours after that.
Or they get it for Guillermo del Toro's design and monster characterization, which isn't in the game for a long, long time either, or at all, you would argue. So it's basically taking everyone's special abilities, the things that they're famous for, and almost inverting them.
I think, it ticks those boxes, but in like I said, if you had an editor, if you had someone to focus him in, it's always that the endless debate in art or whatever is like, you have the sort of, you could focus this in, you could make it more palatable, you could make it more approachable and more sellable, but would you lose that Hideo Kojima-ness? Would you lose the auteur side of it?
The way to look at this is that like, I'm not bagging on Death Stranding as a game. I think it's a fantastic game, and I will go and play more of it. But the problem is, there's a difference between a piece of work being a success and it being successful. And we are in a situation now where homogeny speaks louder than words. And if you have a game that is a military shooter that ticks all of those brown and grey boxes, you will score better with the wallets of people than this game that is trying to do something different. It's as simple as that.
True. I mean, that's the thing, which is why something like Death Stranding was such a massive breath of fresh air, and playing it and going like, oh yeah, I remember what variety feels like. And I'm still obviously glad that that's there. I mean, we're recording this before the Game Awards, and I have no idea what Death Stranding is going to win.
I hope that it will clean up.
I kind of hope so. I want Death Stranding to still mean something to the industry in regards to being what is ostensibly the most high-budgeted indie game ever, in terms of the mentality behind it and the soul that's at the heart of it. But that's the thing. What do most of the companies take away from this? Well, if they look at the sales data, then runaway, single-minded projects don't sell, whereas something like Ghost Recon Breakpoint and WWE 2K does, which just sucks looking at those games.
It worries me a lot as well, because this is the same sort of statistical data that we looked at when, I can't remember which Sony boss said this, but they said that the X people have not finished this game. People do not want single player games.
Yeah.
Like it worries me.
Oh, that was EA.
EA, sorry, because you're going to look at this and you're just going to, or people who have the money and influence are going to look at it and be like, well, people don't want that. People don't want this like narrative experience. People don't want to be challenged. They want their buy the road things and FIFA 25. You know what I mean? It's sad. It's really sad.
It is a bit grim.
But as with everything,
at least the game's good.
Everything. This means that it can become even more of a cult classic further down the line. I mean, you look at games that we were talking about earlier on with Psychonauts and a few other games as well. It's just like they have developed themselves into a cult status, and sometimes that's actually worth more to be
in the long run.
To be the person that was right rather than the person that's popular.
True. which is the definition, like you said, of success versus successful.
Yeah. But there we go. As sad as it sounds, this might be why Death Stranding is, as far as sales figures are concerned, a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
But that's just been our thoughts on it. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments section below. Whether or not you played Death Stranding, do you agree with the comments about it? Do you think that it's fair that it's not sold as well as it should have? Or do you think that it rightfully shouldn't be like this? Do you not even like this type of game at all? Let us know down below. And if you want to chat to us further, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself and
@/LP89.
You are damn right you can. I hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you are getting up to, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.